Why are there words that, when you speak another language, you're learning another language, in this case, you could be learning Spanish, and you come across these specific certain words that you always struggle to say, and they even feel weird in your mouth when you say them. It feels like unnatural. Why does this happen? Because it certainly happens for at least us Spanish speakers when we learn English. It happens that we have words like, I don't know, world, or I don't know, girl, schedule, all these words that just feel really weird and you have to work really hard to really manage. Why is that? Well, you can probably think of words right now that you struggle with as a learner. If not, names like Enrique or Carlos, Ernesto. So what happens with these words that just feel really weird for, I don't know, like non-native Spanish speakers when they speak? Why does this thing happen? And more importantly, what can we do to feel comfortable with all these words and sound like really comfortable in your own body when you say words like Enrique, Carlos, Ernesto, and you can call all these people without having to feel weird. So if you're interested, stay for this video, because by the end you'll know how to pronounce these words. There are two things that influence this unnaturality or weirdness. I don't know how to call it, but basically these two things are: one, the position, the position of your speech articulators, your tongue, your lips, anything. So one of them could be just the position that it's off, that you're doing the way you do in English instead of the way we would do in Spanish. And the other one, it's the level of vibration or the level of strength of a specific consonant. Because when we have two consonants together, it usually happens that one of them kind of fades a little bit or drops a little bit. So in this case, we're going to see with examples of the letters R, N, and L, but we're not going to call them letters, we're going to call them sounds, N, L, and R. We're going to see these two factors, what happens with them and how can we say them easier. So everyone moves their mouth differently, but the Spanish speakers, we move our mouth in one way, and English speakers and Russian speakers and German speakers, they move their mouth in another way. Those are patterns of movement in our mouth, and we learned them when we were babies, so they are really ingrained. Let's talk about these three sounds that I'm telling you about: the L, and R. These three sounds. Something that these sounds have in common in Spanish is that they happen in the same mouth position, whereas in English they don't. They happen in different parts of your mouth. That's why in Spanish these sounds are easy and really straightforward, because you barely have to move your mouth. But if you were gonna do them in English, if you were gonna read those letters in English, then it would be almost really unnatural, because you'd have to move your tongue very quickly to do those sounds, and so that's why it feels really weird. So let's break it down. These three sounds happen exactly at the same position as I said, and this position is the following. I'm gonna get closer to the camera because I got comments on my last video that it would be helpful for me to get closer, so don't get scared by my face. But okay, so these three sounds happen in the same position. So remember, we're gonna do the N, the L, and the R, but in Spanish are different. I'm gonna do both the English version and the Spanish version so you can compare how different they are. Okay, so this position, the one that we use for Spanish, it's using the tip of your tongue, here, the tip, and you want to put it behind your teeth in the alveolar ridge, it's called, and that's the little flat thing that you have behind your teeth. So these are your teeth. Touch your teeth and move your tongue back as if you were like painting the wall of your the roof of your mouth, and stay with the tip behind your teeth without touching your teeth. La, la, and say the la, for example. La, la. So that's the L. The way it's said in English is la, la, la. So you usually like use the blade of your tongue, and even the tongue sticks out a little bit. La. Versus in Spanish, la, la. Same for the na, na, na. In English, usually it happens na a little bit as well with your blade, with the blade of your tongue instead of the tip. So in Spanish, we want to go na, na, la, la. The only difference between the n and the l, it's that for the n, we block all the airflow from our mouth with our tongue. It comes from your nose, that's why it's called a nasal consonant. Versus the l, which it does come out from your mouth, the airflow, but it comes from the laterals of your tongue. So you leave some space here on the sides. That's why this sound, it's called a lateral. So I want you to practice with those two, and do it without moving your tongue from the place. Can you see how my tongue is going like wide and narrow, but it's like the tip of my tongue is stuck up there and it doesn't move. So try that, practice that without moving your tongue, and in that position. The R, the big unknown. In English, the R, it's almost like a vowel because it doesn't really touch your tongue is not really touching much. It's like it's just like a weird, for us, weird sound. But in Spanish, you just need to put your tongue in the same position that we said, and differently from the L and the N, here you'll need to let the airflow come out from the top of the tip of your tongue. So like, so instead of like really placing the tip of your tongue in your alveolar ridge, you leave some space in between to let it kind of vibrate. And there are different levels of vibration. You can just like really softly, or you can do it really hard, and that's where the trill comes. The trill is not necessary for barely anything, because I have other videos speaking about this, so you can check them out, but basically we don't always trill. This level of vibration varies depending on if we're speaking fast, if we have a weird combination of sounds, and there's a lot of factors that have this vibration change. Okay, so let's go with these combinations of words like Carlos or Enrique or Ernesto. These three names are the ones that we're going to take as an example. What happens when we have r and then l? That's what in English you do, like Carlos, right? Carl. Like, think of the name Carl. You would go like Carl, and basically you go like and then Earl, which is really hard for us. Earl, like girl. That's why it's hard. But what happens in Spanish? You need to place your tongue like I showed you, and then close it with a l. Okay, so keep your tongue still in that place. Okay, first you let the airflow come out, and then you press the tip of your tongue. Okay? So that's for Carlos or Carla or any word that has R. Same with Ernesto. It just instead of the L is the N. So you start with this one, and then you seal it kind of. So you first start with this vibration. You can do it stronger, and then you seal it. Ernesto. Okay, Ernesto. In English, you go like Ernest. You know, so it's like really different. Enrique. So this is like the other way around. You just start with the and then you let it vibrate. You start with your tongue sealing the palate, and then you let it vibrate. Enrique. Okay. Basically, the switch that we have to do is to change the position of our speech articulators when we speak. Just keep that in mind. And the little trick for you is the level of vibration for your R, in this case, for your R. Okay? Is that you don't need to trill it so much. You don't need to go like Enrique. You can go like Enrique. And it's as natural and it sounds as good to me, at least, and to most of the people. Don't trill. Like, you don't need to trill. If you have any words that you find unnatural or weird to say, or you just really struggle, or you avoid, because this could happen, write them in the comments. You can also subscribe to my newsletter, and if you do that, you can access a step-by-step guide that I made on the R sounds in Spanish. And yeah, I think that's all. So I'll see you in my next video. Nos vemos. Chao, chao.